All right, welcome back to the Vanflip. I first want to shout out our Patreon supporters. So Dylan and Lachlan, thank you very much for supporting the podcast. We appreciate it. If you would also like to be a podcast supporter, link is in the description. You can read up on it, and you can also get a shout out. Today on the couch, we are joined with Chris. I don't want to say your last name.
Colohan.
Okay, there it is. I really am bad at last names on this whole
right.
endeavor that we've got going on.
I don't know the guy. It's fine.
You were originally from a couple different other bands, but one that you're most popular for would be Cursed, correct? And you're now in another band with it's kind of like a hardcore supergroup for the most part. Would you say?
It's kind of like a who's left to hang around and wants to do some more fun shit with group.
Right.
Wasn't on purpose like that.
But you're in SECT. That's the band you're in now. And speaking of hardcore, and we talked about very little bit about vinyl beforehand, you guys just visited the Tiger Records, which is Bane's bass player.
Yeah.
What's his name? I forget his name.
James.
It's his record shop that he opened up, and you guys just went by there, right?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a tiny little place, but it's got some killer shit in there.
Stacked in all the departments. I got a My Bloody Valentine Loveless for $30.
Nice.
Yeah.
They also have minimal other. It's more like hardcore and punk, vinyls mostly. It's not a lot of
No, but the stuff they had some good soul records for such a kind of a smaller section and reggae stuff, and they had just good.
He just came back from Japan, or no, he went somewhere and he got a bunch of Japan stuff. Yeah,
hundreds. Yeah, no, definitely great spot.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Tiger Records. If you're ever in my neck of the woods, you can check it out. Or if you actually see Bane on tour, if they ever go back on tour, I think he carries some records with him. Or he definitely tries to get records, so go swap them out. But also in your band, your current band, SECT, currently on tour with Magnitude, you guys have, like we said earlier, a plethora of people from older bands. You have some Earth Crisis dudes in there.
Scott.
Yeah.
Guitarist, yeah.
Is it just Scott now?
It's just Scott.
Okay. So who's playing bass now?
Steve Hart of Day of Suffering. You'll see him. You'll meet him tonight.
Yeah.
Friends from the same time frame.
Cool.
Yeah.
You also have some Prayer for Cleansing / Undying dudes.
Jimmy Chang.
Yeah. And is that it? Yeah, that's pretty much it. No,
that's it.
And then
Andrew.
Yeah, Andy from Fall Out Boy is also in your group.
I think this is his first band.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could be.
Yeah.
Could be. So you guys, you're from Canada. We previously just spoke about that. But on the Facebook, it says you guys are based in North Carolina.
Well, 3 of them are.
Okay.
Yeah. Scott and Jimmy are both in Raleigh, and Steve is in Luna.
I don't want her to stop the recording or anything like that.
And Steve is in Wilmington.
Okay.
Andy was from Milwaukee, and now he's in Portland, and I'm in Ontario. So 2 coasts and 2 countries, but the 3 of them are roughly, we kind of start out everything we do in Raleigh and kind of go from there, if it's down here at all.
We'll touch base back with that. I actually skipped ahead. I shouldn't have. I was thinking about that. But anyway, you're an older gentleman like myself. What brought you into the hardcore scene and stuff like that? How'd you get started in it, especially in Canada?
It was fortunate for me, the timing that it happened. I mean, I was 16. I was in Hamilton, Ontario, which is just outside of Toronto.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple other bands from there. Which one are you thinking of? Alexis on Fire's from there?
They're from close by. They're from Niagara. Yeah.
And is Counterparts is in that area?
They are, yeah. They're in,
Yeah. Somewhere around there. Anyway, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I was just it's like a maybe Pittsburghy or Detroity kind of place. It was a factory place that was booming at some point, and it kind of hit the skids, and so it was a little bit of an angry, unnecessarily isolated place for somewhere that's just 40 minutes outside of the biggest metropolitan city we have. But
plus, it gets pretty cold.
It gets fucking cold. It's minus 18.
That always kind of
Celsius.
That kind of always messes with the psyche and the attitude of a person.
Cameron from Magnitude was just saying it's fucking cold. Just now. Fuck you guys. This is
it's January. It's January and you're in Florida, and it's colder now than it's been all year. But
I put my long sleeve shirt on. But
I had one on earlier, but I'm rocking the tee now.
Yeah,
I got pants on. Mm-hmm. That's a rarity.
It's extreme weather.
I haven't worn my sandals at all though. But
you got sandals?
Nah, I haven't worn sandals in years. But
good.
technically. I used to live at the beach out here. You know, now I'm downtown.
I guess you're going to want some
neighborhoody area.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's no reason to wear your sandals out here.
Yeah. No, I just was in like, I don't know, it's kind of a misfit of a person without any real strong kind of friend group, and I moved a lot around as a kid, moved houses around, so I didn't have the same group of friends a long time, and just fell in with a pile of people. I don't know if it was the same for you growing up, but skateboarders and weirdos,
degenerates,
punks, all the degenerates were
yeah.
And
it's almost the same,
Random straight edge kid, and I don't know, I ended up at like a show that was really like the equivalent of a battle of the bands or something, thinking back on it now. I don't know, just like walked into a situation, got thrown into a fucking wall, and I loved it.
Yeah. You were
scared.
Early teens or something like that?
Yeah, I was about 16, 15 or 16. Yeah, and I just loved it. It was a real argumentative moment. Everyone was talking about just questioning all the shit about that you grow up with and all the ideas you don't like in your head. Mm-hmm. And that's really where I was at that moment. And I just kind of made family of it really fast and stuck with it.
Were you into some kind of like other music at the time before you got there? And
I liked punk. I didn't have older brothers or real friends around, so I just kind of like gravitated towards it myself and found it and walked into stores and bought the first things that looked cool on a shelf.
Cool, yeah. And by then you're just like looking, don't judge a book by its cover, but you kind of have to at those times.
Yeah, honestly I did. The first stuff when I didn't know what it was like My War, a Crass record, a Foreskins record. Like it was a real mishmash of stuff, but it was like, it's pretty much indicative of how the rest of my time would go. Like I really steered it. So,
yeah, it's crazy. Like nowadays, especially with everything being so digital and accessible, you basically know what the band is prior to like picking up a record blindly. But
yeah,
it used to make for some good art.
Yeah, I think so.
Good album art, so we kind of just dove into that. Like the scene in Canada at the time when you were a youngster, what was? I mean,
it was mostly around Chokehold, if you know them.
Not super familiar with
them. I mean, it's really specific to the city, and the scene was really like 20 people, really, like it wasn't a big deal.
And they all make up of like 8 bands?
Really, we did.
Yeah. It's usually how it works out in the early days.
Well, from Chokehold through like Left 4 Dead and all that was really the same. The same people were overlapping a lot of, No, it was like a very argumentative point in time for like hardcore. It was very much the same time as like slackery, grungy things. And if you remember how that was, like, it was very, I don't know, anti-establishment. Really didn't understand why yet, but it was really into talking about why.
Well, I know like Earth Crisis was like almost at their prime around that time too. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to date you that bad, but they're in that same.
They played
area.
in my friend's living room down the street from my mom's house. That's the first time I met Scott, and it was when the very first 7-inch and the first.
Nice.
They went out.
So like really old school stuff.
It really was.
No disrespect again.
No, it's fine. We were joking today about respect and how people just talk about respect too respectfully. I don't need that much respect.
Yeah, that's true. I don't get enough. I don't get no respect.
You can have some of mine. It's bullshit.
I don't know if I need any. Yeah. I like the internet clout better,
Good. Well, respect.
So
smash that like button for respect.
Yeah. If you could sub and like and share, that'd be all dope stuff.
Or don't.
Mostly of them, they mostly won't. It's okay though. So how did SECT come to fruition? Obviously, you met.
Oh my God!
His name.
These are your interview subjects.
I got it.
Which one?
I got it. It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy, not Ian. So you met him then, but like you guys probably weren't buddies until much later, or when you were in a band.
Yeah, anybody at this point that's like this age, which I'm 45. If that helps.
It's okay.
When you keep saying a man of your vintage or something.
I mean, I'm up there with you. That's what I'm trying to like.
I'm sorry for it.
Put us in the same category.
No. But I mean, in that much time in a scene where most things go pretty fast, and circles of people come and go, and waves of people go really every couple of years. And if you think about what is that? What's like 1991 to now? Like 18 or 28 or so years of
30.
that. It's a lot of waves of people. So really, people that are still around and they're still just around for the same reasons as they were when they were like 16. It's pretty rare. So whoever's left is going to mostly find each other.
Gravitate towards each other.
Yeah. So, hardcore splinters off into lots of little subsections, and over time we all were in sort of different corners of the same world. So we've crossed tracks. Jimmy and I had crossed paths, and there's bands that stayed when Undying came through Toronto and stayed at our house. Things like that. And Scott was from Syracuse and moved down here. Everyone's got a different history with each other, but we've all kind of crossed over at some point. And Andy, I'll let you lead.
No, go ahead.
No, Andy,
you're leading.
Okay. Andy and I, had both in other bands that were on Southern Lord, did a tour, and we just were talking and hit it off really good too, and wanted to start something. And Andy had also drummed, filled in a bit for Earth Crisis.
Yeah.
Jimmy had too, and they independently of that had talked about starting something. So it was sort of like two ideas smashed together.
He's a little younger though, right?
He's a bit younger than us.
I think he's younger than me.
You're 38?
36? Is he older than me?
I think he's a bit older than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember Fall Out Boy being around forever. So
yeah.
I kind of
but they were really
young though too at the time.
Yeah.
And they're relatively in your area for the most part, aren't they? Up from Michigan?
They were, I think. I mean, Andy was Milwaukee, Chicago, I think, more or less. Okay. And they were all in different hardcore bands too, like a lot of them.
Yeah, I know that when that band came out, it was very weird. I mean, that was one of the first times that I'd seen like, bands in a scene somewhere be like, fuck it,
hardcore kids in like a successful.
Yeah, and they just kind of went their route, and they did their thing. But
yeah,
that was one of the first ones I'd seen like that. So interesting, but it's also interesting to find out that he comes from that background. They all came from that background.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a thing. It's neat. I think people have a lot of. I mean, I think I wouldn't want to be in his position. He deals with it pretty gracefully, but he's just like a hardcore kid. That's a straight edge kid.
Yeah, he's also in the Damn Things with Keith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like a fun, nerdy, earnest guy that wants to just do his thing.
Well, it's cool. He's back into. These types of bands prior, not prior, but after, the great success with Fall Out Boy. But I guess he can do whatever he wants, basically.
Yeah, and this is what he kind of wants. He's been playing in other, like, kind of DIY bands the whole time, too, right? Sort of on the side.
It's crazy to see where other, where bands of that caliber have influences in other little genres.
There's not many people that go there and go backwards from that.
Right, so shout out to him. All right, that's enough Fall Out Boy talk. I know that's something that we're not interested in right now. So that's cool.
See, it's good you disabled that comments section, right?
Right. Oh no, the YouTube will definitely be comments, but
right.
The anonymous comments are gone.
Yeah. All right, neckbeards, bring it on.
Yeah, right. So, like we were talking about earlier,
I think your mom said lunch is ready.
Yeah. She has to yell it down in the basement, though. So, like you said, like we were talking about earlier, you're from Canada, and everyone else is from other parts of the country, and most of the crew is from North Carolina. Mm-hmm. How does that affect like writing for you guys? Is that like all done over the internet, or is it you get all your ideas and then come record?
It's weird.
Or do you meet up to write?
All those guys have been in more professional as musicians, and I've been playing all this time, but never just in bands that usually are at a jam space and something starts with a riff and ends with a song. Mm-hmm. But the only way we can do all this is that way, is kind of remote control. But Scott and Jimmy write all the songs, and they each kind of write about half and half of the songs. They demo them, Scott and Jimmy demo them, and then send them all around to all of us, and we kind of learn them and listen to them, and then we all get together with that rough idea in mind and get together and play it, because you kind of still have to be in one place playing it.
Practice.
And like also just vibe it off each other
in
a room together and see what works or what you'd switch up about it.
So songs are almost complete once they get to you guys?
Yeah, which is kind of hard for me, for the way like I write like lyrically. And
do you write it as like when you're in a ideal situation? Is it something that you write as the band is writing?
Usually I have kind of like an idea thematically, and then there's like enough of a raw idea musically, and they kind of grow together. And this is different because it's like, here's the song. Whatever you got's got to fit perfectly into this. Yeah. And I'm really OCD about every syllable of something making the right sense.
Well, it's a big part of, I mean, as a vocalist yourself, I'm sure you agree, it's a big part of the melodic structure of the song for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up drumming too, so it's very like percussive in my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was in a band way back in the day, and doing it that way as a song completed and then writing into it would be very difficult for me.
It's stressful. It'll be like an LP at this point too.
Yeah.
Like I gotta write,
because as a vocalist or whatever, you also have an idea of what you want the song to sound like. Yeah. So it's probably a little difficult to deal with that, I'm sure.
Yeah. It keeps it a little stressful, and stressful usually keeps it good though. Like
on your toes.
Yeah, in the course of recording, I'll be so stressed out about it that it'll be kind of at my wit's end, and that makes for doing what I'm trying to do anyway.
Yeah. So everyone in the band, at least from your Facebook currently says you're straight edge and vegan for the most part. Mm-hmm. I also thought it was interesting it said no vaping on there.
I don't know. I guess we're just being dicks.
Yeah, I was curious if it was like hardline with the no vaping, because I know that obviously you can vape weed and
oh my god, no, it's not. I mean, I guess it's here. None of us do, but it's not. We're kidding.
I didn't know if some of your dudes were like blowing big cloud competition type vapes, or
yeah,
anti that. I'm anti that.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
It was just it was a funny thing that I saw on there earlier. Yeah. So, most of your content with the band, is that focused more so on like your lifestyle choices, or is it more just like everyday life kind of shit that's going on and you're upset about?
That is really, I guess, where it falls on me, and I don't feel right. No, for real. Like this is something that I think is pretty special about this band, because I grew up with like around kind of orbiting that world of straight edge stuff, but I have been those things since I was 19. But each of those things represents something in my head that you could take hardcore away, and many times it has gone away, and it's still the same. So I don't really like to think about this only in a relation to that culture, because you're playing at a bar half the time, and if you're talking about sobriety, and that's something like everyone around you has gone through, or their parents and all their friends, or recovery. And so that's just something I feel like music should apply to whoever. It should go out to everybody. So if it's me, it's neat because I've had my frustrations with the worlds of like straight edge and vegan things, and that people are usually pretty young and they don't really know how to handle that kind of dogma that well. So they lay it on really thick, and then they usually are still growing just as people, right?
Yeah.
And things do shift around, and that's the reality of growing up.
Yeah, your mindset from 18 to 30 is greatly different.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It always seemed wild to me, like if it happens to work out that way, like Steve and our bass players it's never come up for him in his life, and that's awesome. But everyone is different, and I went through all that shit growing up, and I'm glad I did. I don't wish that I didn't,
right? But
I had no moderation, and I couldn't do it. So
you're talking about like not being straight edge in general, just substances,
drinking especially, but. Yeah.
That's the worst one of all.
That was the worst one.
It is.
When you were talking about weed, I'm like, I'd rather see people I know smoking weed than on like antidepressants that fuck you up for life.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's your stance on like stuff like that, like over the counter medicine? Because like I'm not big on that in general, but obviously when I get like super sick and I have like a flu or something, like I recently did, I succumb to it. And
Are you talking about just like over the counter?
Yeah, over the counter. I'm not a big. We talked about it prior to the podcast, but I'm not a big man-made kind of situation. I don't really like because. Anyone can put anything in anything. So
yeah,
it's kind of frightening.
Shit. I don't know. I'm pretty big on a lot of herbalist things and home remedies, and
like essential oils and stuff.
Yeah. So I think anything something natural can do, it should do first before a pharmaceutical.
Right. I agree. It's weird, like as a kid, you're just kind of indoctrinated into the whole like Western medicine situation.
Yeah,
and then all that herbalist stuff and all that essential oil kind of like. Weird hippie stuff is very much looked down upon in the main culture.
Right.
But it's kind of strange. Like the older you get, you're like, well, that makes certain things make sense. And now with there's a big wave, obviously, of like more holistic type.
And commercial medicine is moving towards those, like we're trying to seem like.
Well, they're missing all the money, man.
Yeah.
They need that money.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, I don't really write straight edge songs that are like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So if that's me, that song to me is shit about my friends that have lost, and I hate it. It's
cool. Not cool, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's not religious. It's just like, why do you do or not do something no matter what it is?
Yeah. What personally brought you to that idea of like switching over at that age? Was it just like you just like kind of being out of control and then listening to that kind of music and decided?
I was out of control and listening to that same kind of music both ways. And this is where my war comes in, where Black Flag's my war. Because I got the same out of that.
I think they're playing here tomorrow.
That's certainly something.
Black Flag? Yeah. they're playing tomorrow.
Okay. I have thoughts on that. It doesn't matter now. No. That man just, I don't know. I could attach myself to that anger as drunkenly as I could after I stopped doing everything, my war in particular. But no, I had no moderation, and I drank a lot. And I was 19 is our drinking age in Ontario, so it's like you're 21. And I was just hitting that age, and I lived with my friend. I'd moved out of home, and I just couldn't. Like I was dealing with that for shit that I still have, which is just anxiety. You're in a room full of people. And if I let myself do that now, I have better reasons for anxiety than I ever had. It wouldn't be in the fun or healthy or sociable way. It would just be to like smear out that.
Is it? Were you drinking prior to the legal age?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I grew up
high school
doing
and
that.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just ironic because I stopped the year that I could have legally done it.
because it wasn't cool anymore.
No, it wasn't. It was depressing to me to think as an adult of just going to a liquor store and bringing something to my apartment and sitting at my table. Like, what the fuck
Well,
is that?
it's crazy you did it so young because, like, usually, well, here I've known a lot of people that, especially growing up in the scene, a lot of people were straight edge until they were legal.
This is what I mean. They're young,
and then they swap it up.
Yeah,
But yeah, as I got older, just I drank a lot too. As I got older, it was just like crazy how much money you spend on that shit.
I don't know.
And how frequent. I mean, you probably don't know, but it was.
I mean, I don't have the money to fucking fuck around, so I'm glad that's the other reason I can't.
Even though you can get, I don't know, it's crazy. It's an expensive habit, if you want to call it drinking a habit. But
For sure.
yeah, I never really messed around with anything outside of drinking and smoking the reefer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a natural situation. I like the natural substances more. We kind of talked about mushrooms earlier, and since we're talking about it now, I'll just kind of throw that out there. Because we're talking about medicine and stuff too. My girl, Gina, was watching some kind of Netflix show. It was a Gwyneth Paltrow show or something like that.
Mushroom in her vagina.
Nah. She had she has this, I don't know exactly what goes on, but she has this little like organization, and they send a bunch of like people down to Jamaica to do magic mushrooms because it's unregulated there or something like that. But they did it for like therapeutic reasons. And I was just curious because she literally watched that today, and I was like, well, I wonder what, your stance would be on something like that, because it is somewhat of a medical, therapeutic thing.
I'm probably not the typical straight edge guy answer to this. I've got like a lifelong situation with insomnia and anxiety and medication that I'm usually trying to get off of, or just bravely flushing down a toilet and then before crashing into a wall. I have a friend that Ali that does mushrooms once a year on New Year's Day, and he said it just resets his, and like that's the only thing he does. He does that every New Year's or something, and just kind of resets everything. I know they're going to start looking at psilocybin for PTSD and for a lot of things like that.
Yeah, they kind of started doing that here in the States, at least.
Yeah, no, honestly, it makes all the sense in the world in that it sort of like takes the phone off the hook and the things that are like, the anxiety that's going around your head. It's unfortunate now there's all these kind of things that I could probably make great use of if I didn't just categorically not do them. Right. I've had doctors ask me that before it was even legal in Canada, which it is, just like, what about weed then? If you don't want this and you don't want that and you've tried that. I got no good answer for that, except I belong to a weird, cult of people that just don't.
This culture that I'm a part of?
I can't explain it right now, but yeah.
Have you ever broke edge? Just like accidentally or anything?
No. I mean, I think everyone's got some like accidental things in the course of a long time. But
there's peanuts in this chocolate?
Yeah. Shit like that. But no, I've never. I really just I smoked and I drank. I didn't really, like I said, weed and hash was it. And I think that the weed that I had when I was a kid went through like Hell's Angels where I was. It was probably full of PCP. It wasn't a good experience for anxiety.
Well, most shit around that time in general wasn't that
good. Probably like 90, 91. Yeah, it wasn't a good time to get random weed from bikers.
Yeah, so now it would like probably blow your mind.
It would probably explode my brain anyway, so I'm just going to keep on where I'm stay away from it. I'm okay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was interesting just because the magic mushrooms thing just popped up randomly today, and I just
No, I can see why. If any plant works for people, this is where the vegan and the straight edge sort of butt up against each other.
Yeah.
I know I hate the idea of pharmaceuticals and monopolies more than I hate the fact of something as a drug isn't in itself a problem. It's that people get dependent on that.
Yeah.
That's where there's strings attached, and then there's somebody making money off that dependency.
Of your addiction and thing. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, that whole pharmaceutical
right.
world.
So for the reasons I stopped like drinking or something in the first place, I'm not going to go towards that and just disempower myself, right?
Right.
It's hard enough to hold on to like what little control and power you have over yourself.
True.
That's what I think anyway.
So is it cool for you being in a band with some people that, Earth Crisis in general, that you kind of like looked up to and you got into hardcore, originally with like...
It's very full circle.
Yeah. How does that feel as like, because now you're touring with these individuals and you're playing music with them? Is that like you said, it's a full circle thing? I love it.
Yeah, it's really neat because in all this time I've been playing with different people and Cursed in the Swarm, and there was friendships wrapped up in that went back to like being 15 years old. Like things that when they fell apart really cut a lot of a divider of life, the people you knew before and after. So I've been playing ever since, and I've always just, every time something imploded, just started the next thing with whoever was around. And every single band is a different scenario. It's like a mix of whatever people and whatever you decide you're going to do with it. So I don't like to predetermine what anything's going to be like. But for this, I really love that. I've never been in really an intentional vegan or straight edge band until my 40s. Yeah. So I love it because I'm like, I've never not done those things. I never really thought about them like that, but it's really cool because it's such a diverse world of people. Yeah. That after all that, we can all like throw in together with one thing.
Were they fans of your bands prior?
Yeah, different ones of us, like, different. I
didn't know if they'd be like, oh, who's this guy? And then you just kind of linked up with them or something like that later on in life.
Yeah.
So, being someone, again, I don't mean to date us that much, but being someone that's
let her rip, man. That's all right.
Being someone that's been in the like hardcore realm for 20 plus years, what are some of the things that you've seen change within the scene itself? Like, because you traveled and stuff like that too, all over. So, what are some of the things that you've seen as when you were younger? It's completely different now.
Probably the fact of being on one foot on each side of like the analog era and the digital era, like the advent of the internet.
Yeah. Sorry, JP, do you mind open that damn door?
Luna's
gonna cry the entire time.
What are you doing? You gonna come see us? What do you always want to hang out?
You can hang out if you want. The people love you on the YouTube.
Yeah.
But we'll
come on. We got that Yoto.
All right.
You want out?
See you later, Lou. So back. Positive, negative changes in this thing.
Well, I think the fact that you had to find your own way and find the things you liked.
Thank you.
Back then, was a different world than now, and it's not even bad. It's good. People have direct access to each other's stuff. Right. That was really democratizing that part of the whole internet period. But it's a little bit deceiving, I think, in that people can punch in their coordinates of what's exactly perfectly tasteful in a moment without really just finding it for themselves. And I'm really always more interested in hearing just what sound somebody really makes on their own than what seems like the right thing to make would be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sort of into that genuineness.
Yeah, finding your own shit like yourself, not something that you would, for fans of.
Yeah. Right. And there was a moment where that became like, I remember touring in bands and wanting to hear something that just like, I wish we could play with a band that sounded like SOA and side by side crossed over, and then somehow one year like that exact band happened, and then you play with 5 of them a night. You're like, wait a minute, something's not right about this.
Yeah,
how did that happen? And it's I don't know. That's been a really big dividing line.
What are some of the positive changes you may have seen? Because the internet is one of those positive, negative.
It is for sure. I don't just like hate on it across the board. It's been great because everybody. I mean, money aside from the money that it used to take, and how much middle management and how many shitty fucking people were in the middle of people that make music or any form of art and the people that want it. There's things like Bandcamp, and people can put something up and everybody just knows. That's been really cool.
Yeah.
And I do think that just now, like people that are younger now, I feel like there's a way better wave of really not self-conscious, much more fun. I mean, we're talking about like the last 20 years of that, the murky depths of the internet.
Yeah.
And I think people grew like sort of cynicism that really was, they were not old, I don't want to say old enough for yet, but it didn't really reflect their life experience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I also think the internet has brought a couple things to light that maybe are positive for like, I hate saying anti-bullying stuff or shaming or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like a lot of people used to do that in our back in the days.
Yeah.
Because that was like the internet then.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then now it's like if someone does that, it seems like the internet also autocorrects itself. And
right.
People like,
in pretty much real time now. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the best that should come out of that. Accountability isn't bad. And you know what I mean? That can only be good if
you're not hiding behind your avatar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know.
Social media.
Yeah.
Speaking of the internet, do you think your bands, I should say bands in general, have benefited more so from the internet in the later stages because of like file sharing and just ease of access? Because it is a negative, like we were saying earlier, where like bands can just search out bands that sound like this band and this band and this band or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference from like when kids would reach something out on their own, like when we were younger, we'd fall into these little niches. So like I do see that it is more of it's a good and bad thing.
I was talking about more like for creativity.
Okay.
that people punching in coordinates is a little bit. I'd rather see people look away entirely and like make a sound that you just whatever comes out.
But it's easy just to find
to find things,
a vein that you like and just keep going down that rather than like searching or attending shows per se.
No, that's one of the things. You do this all in your living room.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that can only be good. How are you going to find like obscure 80s hardcore like you know what I mean, that you would have never maybe on a tape from a tape of a tape.
Physical copies are coming back though. We're in a big, especially tapes.
Yeah.
Just weird because that's like full circle for me.
Tapes.
Yeah,
me too. I was a tapes kid.
Just passing them around. And that was like the basic file sharing back in the day. So you're not like anti-Napster guy.
I'm
like Lars of Metallica.
He's a prick. You're a prick.
I'm also anti-Lars.
Good.
But I'm not a big Metallica fan in general. But that was I remember that time.
You can send your fucking dad to beat me up.
Yeah.
Call him down from the mountain.
When Napster happened and that whole... I thought Napster was the coolest thing because I got to...
That shit is great.
Yeah, I got to listen to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I still have Soul Seek.
Do you?
Yeah, he's still a viable option.
I got a friend that vouches for it a lot, like lately.
I will vouch. It is definitely a good... no, they don't sponsor us or anything, but it's definitely...
Think about it, Soul Seek.
Yeah. But if you want to, hey... but yeah, no, file sharing was like, it's your typical trading of tapes now. Mm-hmm. Or CD mixtapes or whatever, but...
That's getting a little harder, too. Like the copyright, the people in the middle, again, like the people that own the whole catalog.
Yeah, the labels and shit.
Yeah.
It's becoming more of a DIY situation, too. Whereas, like you were saying, Bandcamp, technically your band can just record whatever. And recording is much easier than it was when we were kids, too.
That's true.
So, everything been made to be easier. Not that it's negative, but anyone could just throw anything up on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, or YouTube, and the next thing you know, you can gain a following without even having any middleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's kind of beautiful.
It's a great time to be alive.
For sure. Yeah.
Let me see here. I heard you were, and this could be false, but you're a culinary guy? Culinary hustler is what I think the correct term was.
A little bit. I can cook a little bit.
I think Vice called you that.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it a culinary guy?
Culinary hustler.
Really?
Yes.
Weird.
It was a term.
Now I had this situation. There was a situation where...
Hustling vegetables on the side?
It wasn't... It actually, that is what happened. It wasn't a plan in life.
Yeah.
I've just played in hardcore bands and worked jobs I could kind of pick up and put down for all this time.
Right.
But being vegan and traveling to the South, I had friends in North Carolina at some point make things that would have had kind of like lard in them, make smoky, like Southern things. Canada has like a lot of Caribbean food and population. But we
got a lot of Haitian people up there.
Yeah, but we don't have like in the way that you have like Black American soul food. We don't have the same stuff like that. So cooking like that and really savory things that are kind of like greasy.
Poutine?
Yeah, well, that's greasy for sure. No, I mean like collards and smoky stuff like that.
Right.
Until pretty recently, we didn't have a lot of that in our food. But I had sort of a weird home creation turn into like a viral thing and then turn into like a business overnight, which is basically like fake lard, which is weird. That ends up being after all the things you try to do on purpose with your life. And then I made fake lard, and then
that's what I'm being known for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happened, and now I run like a company about it.
Nice. Do you cook? Are you like chefed up or anything?
I'm really fucking bullshit in that department. I can make. I'm not like particularly good at it. I'm kind of a MacGyver.
So you're basically just kind of like a low key Fight Club dude without the Fight Club.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it's been said. No, you're the first to say it. No, I make a few different things now. In the last couple of years, the vegan options are so through the roof.
Right. It's a big movement.
It's amazing that it's with our band. Everybody's like an old vegan, so it's neat that we lived long enough. We survived the dirt cakes of the 90s.
Right, just living on like basic sustenance.
Yeah, really crumbly shit. They had to drink a lot of water with.
I have a friend who has this, he says if it tastes good, spit it out. He's big on that. So like if something, because usually things that are taste good, they can't be good for you.
Oh.
No, they can't be good for you. Like candy and all sorts of processed.
That's
junk.
the trick, though. I think that's not true.
No, because now with the vegan situation, there's a lot of experimenting with like spices and just other kind of materials and like food. And no, it's definitely like gone completely haywire now. I mean, I remember Well, obviously, when we were younger, all that stuff was looked down upon too, in general, and it's becoming more accepted as the internet has been more plethorable.
You mean processed stuff?
No, being vegan or vegetarian is kind of, it's come full circle to where like everyone kind of realizes they've been somewhat brainwashed to eat meat in general.
Well, once people mostly see, I mean, I don't know anyone that needs it to be a dead animal. Once they realize like that they can have the same what they need, whether it's protein or whether it's like the exact flavor, like
mushrooms are big in that, huh? Mushrooms are a big meat alternative. I've been finding out. Yeah,
great.
We've had a lot of vegan people on the on the podcast just unknowingly.
Right.
So I've had a couple conversations on and off with people like Tommy from Between the Buried and Me.
Oh yeah.
Mean Pete from Ether and stuff like that. Yeah, we've kind of tossed ideas back and forth, and it's one of those things where like I'm hearing about it so much, and I'm interacting with people so much like that. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm going to give up meat necessarily like tomorrow, but I have consciously made an effort to not eat as much of it, just because I know that.
But it would be easier for you to now than it would have before.
Like
you know
100%.
What you need, and it's right there. If you made that decision,
100%. Yeah, it's definitely a viable option. Like you can definitely do it now.
And somebody living anywhere is in that situation. You know, if you live in the most remote place, you can still get at those things.
What would surprise the average SECT fan about the band? Like, what is something that would surprise the band? I mean, not surprise the band.
No,
surprise
I know what you
the
mean.
average listener of SECT.
I don't know. Talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer a lot.
Big movie guys?
Everyone's kind of a different sort of like a nerd. I think with the exception of Steve, we're all pretty like big sci-fi kind of nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy, we're big. It's a Joss Whedon fan.
Okay.
Maybe that's one. I don't know. There was a bunch of Angel and Buffy talk today in the van.
Do you guys have the DVDs with you?
Jimmy has the whole box set at his house, like the seasons. We don't have them with us because we're just in like a minivan.
Are you more?
We're much older now, you know.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. The minivan makes sense.
Are you into the physical copy thing? I know you like vinyl and stuff, but
I'm a fucking asshole about physical copies of absolutely every.
Are you pro CDs too?
Yeah.
I'm
pro all the things. But I've got like 8 tracks. I do. I have like hundreds of that, and thousands of records, and all.
I don't know if I haven't heard an 8-track in fucking 25 years or so. So I don't even know what the sound quality like is.
They're like really good when they're good.
Yeah.
Like it's like recording.
So I don't even know how an 8-track would work.
It's like cassette tape. Is it a 1/4 inch? It's a little thicker. It's got a lot of information on it. The trouble with them is they wind in this infuriating, like famously terrible way where they wind from the inside out, and you can't like splice and fix them like you know when you're a kid and there's a tape that breaks and you can put a piece of tape over it. You can't do that shit with 8-tracks. So you can hunt shit down, and it could have lived for like 35 years. And the magnetic or this steel tape that holds this, they're called programs. There's basically 4 sides somehow, and they put about 3 songs. And then it makes this and it flips on itself somehow. And when they meet, that piece of tape can be brittle. So it could the first time you play it might, like many angry dad's cars of the 80s with many ELO 8-tracks thrown on the fucking highway. Yeah, so it's fun because it's kind of dangerous. You get them and you're not sure it's going to eat it.
It's got a finite life.
Yeah.
That
makes it pretty
But the sound quality is decent on this? I haven't heard them
No, man, I've got a good... Yeah. I've got a Poppy family.
They're better than like tape. Because I don't think tape's that good.
They're not that good. No, they're like that, but more high fidelity, I think.
Cool.
If the tracking and all the little parts inside that do the tracking...
They could just fit more shit on the tape, and it was way more portable.
But where it stops, there's no logic. It's just like that time runs out, and either they'll like shittily fade a song out and back in, or right in the middle of a song, it'll into the next one.
Flip it on the other side.
Yeah.
Recently I got back into the CD collecting, because I dabbled in the vinyl when I was younger, and I got rid of all my shit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was a bummer. And then I was moving around a lot too, so I was all over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely got back into it. And then, I stream so damn much music in the car or like here that I started to notice like, well, Spotify isn't loud. Like it's not, if I crank Spotify the loudest I can make it, it's not loud.
Right.
If I listen to a CD in the car or outside, it's like, holy crap, it's definitely more full. Yeah. And I remember the whole thing where like vinyl's key and vinyl's the best sound. But
you know what? Pretty much all the formats, it's relative to their time. And this is why I think that reissues are great in terms of the stuff that you would never be able to find.
Remasters or reissues?
Well, when you end up with stuff that's like digitally, like reconstituted analog, something that's made from a digital master, doesn't make as much sense. And there are things that are on CD from that generation that sound fantastic as CDs.
Yeah.
Because that information is like not compressed, it's flowing the right way. Like I have a lot of classical avant-garde things, like, you know, ECM, label ECM. They do a lot of Eastern European.
No clue, sorry.
It's all right. It's like weird jazz stuff. It's a label from like the 70s through now that does a lot of different avant-garde and like chamber things. But yeah, some stuff like that is absolutely still, I would buy it as a CD. And some stuff on vinyl that's, I mean, I collect absolutely everything, but there's like 1950s jazz records that I have that I wouldn't want any other way than the crackly, like the way they were when they were made. And same with tapes that I am Licensed to Ill on cassette.
Those are some key ones. That's the thing. Like, how do you decide which one you're going to buy and like what format? Because like, I feel like I tend to keep a lot of like hardcore and like scene records. That's what I'd like to, because I feel like they are way more limited. And that's another stupid thing that I get caught up in is the physical copies are limited, especially nowadays because everything's streaming. Yeah. And everything made now, if like you could be an artist and not even make a CD. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what I buy on, you know, I don't want like 18 copies of the same damn record.
Yeah, there's a few things I have. I realized I have Deep Purple Machine Head on tape, 8-track, record, CD, and then digitally. Yeah. There's a few like that.
What's like a really good gem in your collection? Whether it be any kind of format, but what's like your like, this is my one.
Oh shit!
Like this is my box set, or this is my most rare thing.
I really have a lot of. I'm not trying to sound like a dick. I have a lot, like maybe 3,000 plus of records. I have real trouble. I'd have like an OCD meltdown if I tried to answer that because I would think like a nerd. But then what about the other one? I don't know. I know when I'm checking out any kind of stereo or equalizer, I always put on T-Rex Electric Warrior because it seems like Tony Visconti produced records like that. I don't know. That's the one I always, no matter how many times I hear it, I hear like another instrument in it. Roy Orbison's like that too. It's just like a symphony of stuff.
So we'll wrap it up a little bit. So I'm going to touch base on some old band stuff, obviously, because we got that question the most. Mm-hmm. When, if ever, can we expect a Cursed reunion / new music?
Nah.
No, Furnace Fest hasn't hit you up?
No, lots of people have hit us up. There's just people that are out.
Okay.
There's some things that happened back then. That was it.
Okay.
That was it. Period.
That was this one. That was one that we got.
No, it's fair. I mean, if you're living in like this just now and you're so used to seeing bands reunite and play, just because if you're not,
this year's a big year for all that too. With Furnace Fest, so I was curious.
Now someone's got to not do it, and that's us.
Sticking it to you all, not the man, but
no. There's friendships. They just got torn apart.
I feel you. Yeah, people come and go.
There's situations with people that are beyond
100%.
There's people that haven't been in this scenario, and that's been over 10 years since the end of Cursed. You know, So there's people that aren't.
You're like 2008, 2007, right? You guys hung it up around then?
The shit happened in Europe, yeah. So that's straight up horse's mouth, not ever going to be.
You've heard it here first. Don't expect that shit anytime soon. You may not know this particular question, but maybe you guys talked about it in the van somewhere. But James was part of Undying, and the last person we had on the podcast was Tommy and Paul from Between the Beard and Me, and Tommy was also part of Undying. And this was around when Furnace Fest started announcing like all these old comeback people. So can we expect maybe a possible Undying or Prayer for Cleansing get together? I don't know if you might know
I
that.
can authoritatively say yes, both.
Oh, okay.
No, I can't.
Oh, okay.
I'm joking. I don't. No, I have no idea.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, I'll just pull Ginny aside later.
I'll tell them that I said it, and then they'll have to do it.
Yeah, let's just make it a thing where like it is a thing.
No, I know that
we'll just
don't
speak it into fruition.
Please don't really ask them that. They're not. They can't. They're in the similar, I think, thing. Too.
Okay.
You know, all our bands back then, dude. Everyone was friends, and you know, like our relationships were like really tangled up.
Right. No, yeah, you sleep, eat, and live with someone for the long periods of time, and you work with each other.
Yeah.
So you're with each other all the time. There's bound to be some headbutting going on.
Yeah, but a lot of people have really, really realistic, good reasons that they did it, and that was it, and we all did the fuck out of it. And now,
some people move on.
Yeah,
with life.
Now we do this.
Well, we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything else that you would like to shout out, maybe, or any band that we should check out that you're familiar with that maybe the average person wouldn't know about yet? Or
damn it!
If you want some lard, visit Chris's website company. He can sell you some lard.
Veganmagic.cc.
There you go.
The Cayman Islands, I think. It's a weird domain. There's so many.
.ca?
Yeah, we have .ca.
Okay.
I did .cc because it was my initials. I was being a dickhole, but no one's looking for anything at .cc. You know.
Did you buy? Yeah, you might be one of the only ones. You're holding it down for the vegan lard.
Yeah. Cayman Islands represent. Now, there's a million great bands now. Most of them are. I don't know. I liked playing with like this weekend with Magnitude. Is perfect example of what's still beautiful to all this. You know, for all of us to be able to play with people that are like, you know, in their 20s now or younger than that even, and it's all, there's no fucking hierarchy to it, and we're all just like hardcore kids doing their thing, and we're opening their show, and they're probably listening to, you know, like Earth Crisis.
Right.
Because of
that, yeah.
It's kind of a big circle. So I love that. So there's a million bands, and there's always a lot of things that blow my mind.
I forgot to ask this earlier, so we'll just really quick and end on this. Do you guys get a lot of crossover from Fall Out Boy fans?
You know what? Honest answer, man. It happens a lot that someone will show up at a show and they'll be like Fall Out Boy fans, and they'll end up at like a VFW hall or someone. No, really, like that's the way this goes down. Sometimes this is pretty cool. It'll be like, say, a parent and two like 16-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like there'll be like really young people, and they'll come, and that'll be the first time they see like a hardcore show. It's a DIY show at a VFW hall, and they'll sit at our table and we'll talk to them about whatever, right? Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. Andy's really good like that. He just takes it as for what it is, you know? So
I mean, he's got to be a smart dude and realize, you know, there's definitely going to be some crossover, and there's going to be some people that will be like, oh, this is not my thing.
Right. Yeah. But if you're young, too, you find things however you find them.
For sure.
What if, like, there's a lot of people that come to this through that?
Yeah, and then they get opened up to a whole different world.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, brother. Well, we got to... I don't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we both have to get to the venue, like,
ASAP. We got one of those shows.
So,
yeah. Your couch is so comfortable.
It is, you know.
I wish
Sorry the dog had to be put up a little bit.
No, I wish we... You know.
All right, Chris. Well, I appreciate it very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much.